Ever wonder how your mind creates an alternate reality when you are in complete darkness? Reality is the brain's ultimate construction. While it partially relies on all the streams of data from our senses, it's not dependent on them. How do we know this? When you take away all the sensory information, reality doesn't stop. To understand this question, we must first understand how visual information from the surroundings are perceived. The thalamus is one of the brain's major relay stations. Visual information collected from the photoreceptors are connected through the thalamus to the visual cortex. It is expected that there is a huge flow of information from the thalamus to the visual cortex. However, there is about 6 times as much traffic flowing in the opposite direction. This suggests that in any one moment, what we're experiencing and seeing relies less on the light streaming into your eyes and more on what's already inside our head. So imagine this. Ever wonder how you are able to touch your nose with your eyes closed? To understand this, we must first learn about how the internal model works. The internal model is a concept that represents relationships of our body with the external world. It is a process that simulates the response of the system in order to estimate the outcome of a system disturbance. It does this through fine-tuning the discrepancy between the expected outcome and the actual information, otherwise known as corollary discharge. In other words, the internal model allows us to generate predictions about our surroundings. Predictions are essential for our ability to survive within an ever-changing world. It allows us to react quickly to stimuli in an expected event to reduce the ambiguity about the situation. Our cortex has the complex movement code that must be translated into motor commands to produce movement. The conversion of motor plan to motor command is achieved through the inverse model. In our example, this would be the movement of touching your nose. The motor system then generates a copy of the motor command known as the efference copy. From here, the efference copy initiates a feed-forward expected sensory outcome of the intended action that mimics a smooth trajectory towards the apex of your nose. This process is known as the forward model. It detects the discrepancy of the reafferent signal from the proprioceptive feedback involved in the action. If there is a mismatch, this could result in overshooting or undershooting the target. In some cases, this is observed in patients with cerebellar damage, otherwise known as dysmetria. Consolidation of the internal model occurs within 6 hours after the completion of a new motor task, providing that the performance of that motor task remain unchanged. This latency period is crucial for the motor learning because it allows the brain to engage other regions of the brain to perform the motor task. To recap, the internal model is important in performing everyday movements. It uses the forward model to convert complex motor plan into motor command via the inverse model. The command signal then bifurcates into the actual command to perform movement and an efferent copy which is converted into a corollary discharge through the forward model. The interplay between corollary discharge and the reafferent signal allows us to detect motor errors, which helps us for correct movement execution.